Okay, hello everyone, my name is Karla and I'm going to be presenting my paper titled Los Verdes. Also, before I do begin, I want to offer a trigger warning as I do discuss topics such as sexual assault, harassment, and rape, so feel free to step out at any moment necessary. Prior to talking about this project, I want to share a little bit about myself and what led me to it. So I'm originally from Mexicali, Baja California, and Calexico, California. It's hard for me to separate both cities from one another because I was a transborder student, meaning I crossed the US-Mexico border every day to go to school into the United States. This means that I'm very familiar with the Border Patrol. I grew up seeing them in their designated vehicles patrolling the border. I saw them at school when migrants would seek shelter in my high school. And some of them are friends and family members who chose the Border Patrol as a career path. So I obviously have mixed feelings about the agency and the people who are a part of it. So I just want to recognize the damage that they have caused to POC, indigenous communities, and specifically for this project, women of color. In 2023, a new record was set for unauthorized migration into the United States, resulting in the mass hiring of US Border Patrol agents. In this historically white and male-dominated field, the number of Latina Border Patrol agents has increased, making them vulnerable to forms of gender violence stemming from both institutional racism and sexism. More specifically, Latina agents work in environments where they experience violence in the workplace, witness it against migrants, often female, and may themselves perpetuate it. As such, my work seeks to understand the day-to-day lives of Latina agents at work and how they conceptualize, experience, and resist various forms of gender violence in their workplace. Coupled with the fact that more Latina women are migrating and experiencing different forms of gender violence at the border, understanding this phenomenon from the perspectives of these agents provides new and important insights into this process. While scholars have studied the female migrant experience, the experiences of Latina Border Patrol agents and their perceptions of gender violence have gone largely understudied, particularly by Latina researchers. One of the few women to speak out on the systematic racism and rape culture within the Border Patrol is former agent Jen Budd. In her memoir, Budd shares that she was raped by her male counterpart in the Border Patrol Academy and recalls being accused of making this up to obtain her badge. Additionally, she notes that this is not an isolated case and occurs frequently within the institution, something media reports have confirmed. Based on my discussions with Jen Budd and current female agents and the growing cases of sexual assault within the Border Patrol, these ideologies are still being reproduced and at increasing rates. Moreover, former Border Patrol agent Francisco Cantu writes about his racialized experiences as a Latino in the force and shares how his morals and his ethics were compromised when apprehending migrants who were, like himself, Latinos. Cantu argues that institutional racism and migration policies dehumanize migrants, shaping the ways they are perceived and treated by the Border Patrol. In both of these former agents' accounts, the violence they experienced, witnessed, and inflicted pushed them to quit. Although these perspectives are undoubtedly important and function as the foundation of my work, there is a lack of Latina-produced research on this topic. The perspectives of Latina researchers can provide an intersectional approach that understands the challenges and experiences Latina agents face in these white, male-dominated spaces. My work as a transborder Latina researcher will uncover several nuances that might be overlooked by non-Latinx researchers and/or male researchers. In response, my research is dedicated to closing this growing gap in literature, seeking to unravel how gender continues to frame experiences at the US-Mexico border. My work addresses several questions. How does the intersection of gender and race frame the Border Patrol experience? How do Latina agents perceive gender violence within the workplace? And what can understanding the experiences of both Latina agents say about the complicated relationships of gender violence at the US-Mexico border? This data will allow for a deeper understanding of 1, the experiences of Latina agents, 2, the gender dynamics and culture of the Border Patrol, and 3, how these dynamics and the violence within them are reproduced when agents interact with female migrants. The findings of the study are based on 15 one-on-one semi-structured interviews with Border Patrol agents, both male and female, and Latinx and non-Latinx conducted during the summer of 2024. As a transborder resident, I was well acquainted with several individuals who are part of the US Border Patrol. Thus, I reached out to them and asked if they'd be willing to participate in the study. From there, I used a snowball sampling method by asking each participant to refer me to other agents who might be interested in this study. I also directly contacted agents through professional networking sites. Interviews for the study were conducted when agents were either off-duty either in person or virtually and took between 1 to 2 hours. The agents' interview varied in terms of year employment, sex, assignments, sectors, ages, active, retired, etc. The variety of participants allowed me to conduct a comparative analysis showing how gender, race, and institutional culture intersect and affect these agents' livelihoods and careers. Topics discussed in these interviews included the role of gender in enforcement practices and the experiences of racial and gender injustices within the workplace. Additionally, I inquired about their experiences during their training at the Border Patrol Academy, where female agents are first introduced to their predominantly male cohorts with mostly male instructors. When documenting these interviews, I use pseudonyms to safeguard these agents' careers. My focus on Latina agents is rooted in the knowledge that their experiences are unique as they greatly differ from those of their male counterparts and non-Latinx female counterparts. Latina agents find themselves within the intersection of their identities as women of color working within an institution that expects them to target individuals of their same background. Moreover, they find themselves in a male-dominated and hyper-masculine environment that has been historically unwelcoming and hostile to women. Centering their narratives is essential to contextualizing Border Patrol agents' violent interactions with female migrants. Although the popular perception, often reinforced through media coverage or the U.S. Border Patrol's social media, is that the U.S. Border Patrol has made strides toward gender equality in the workplace, my in-depth interviews with Border Patrol agents show that that is far from the truth. In the current phase of my research, my findings have shown that 1, female Border Patrol agents still experience sexual harassment at the hands of male agents. 2, instructors at the Border Patrol Academy behave inappropriately towards female trainees. And 3, female agents have to work harder to be perceived and treated as equals by their male counterparts. Through these interviews, I have recognized that the structure and senior leadership of the Border Patrol have enabled the violent behavior of male agents. As seen in these quotes, the majority of the Latina agents I interviewed could share at least one instance of sexual harassment. This ranged from being asked out on dates by instructors in the academy to literally being told that women do not belong in the agency on a typical day at work. Moreover, the Latina agents I interviewed varied in age. Thus, I have included examples of agents' experiences ranging from the early 2000s to the more recent 2020s. So I just wanted to look at the quotes real quick. So the first quote is from a trainee at the academy. This happened after she told a male trainee, "Hey girly." She states, "This man got so upset he reached out to me, grabbed me by my pants, and pulled them down in front of everyone my first weekend there. It was a trainee in another class. I went straight to my dorm and cried." Then we have another one from another agent in the academy. She states, "One of my instructors got sent home because every day he'd just be like touching me, calling me babe, baby, and stuff like that, and it was very uncomfortable." While the Border Patrol isn't typically seen as a site of labor solidarity, my research shows that Latina agents find unexpected forms of support in their shared experiences of gender violence. This agent described how she and her colleagues realized that they all had faced the same case of sexual harassment from the same instructor, leading them to come together, share their stories, and take action. This highlights how, even within state institutions, gendered labor creates moments of solidarity, not around enforcement, but around survival. And the third quote, this is the same girl that was called babe and baby by her instructor. She reported this inappropriate behavior, and an instructor approached her and stated, "I'm just letting you know that everyone here thinks that you're a liar." Not only was this response not taken seriously, but she was reprimanded. Responses like these from higher-ups in the agency will continue to de-influence female agents from coming forward. And lastly, we have an agent during the early 2000s at the academy who recalls this happening to her on a rainy day. "I remember one day stood out to me. It was raining, water puddles everywhere at the academy, so they would make me get down in the water puddles and do push-ups so I could get my shirt wet so they could see me. They wouldn't make the guys do that." There is way more where this came from, and it doesn't stop here. It gets worse. But the timeline in which these events happen showcase constant sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior from male agents throughout the years. This data also allows us to contextualize the violent interactions between male agents and female migrants, highlighting a critical issue or question. If male agents do not respect their female counterparts within the institution who are supposed to be their equals, how can they be expected to respect female migrants at the border? Moreover, my study provided more answers to questions I didn't even have. These included how agents ended up in the Border Patrol. During these interviews, agents shared that they joined due to a lack of information or knowledge regarding the agency. Most agents were just looking for a job at the time, happened to run into the Border Patrol, applied, and haven't left since. Additionally, one of the motivating factors for agents joining and staying within the agency was financial stability. Most agents saw how much money they could make and thought this would be a good step in their future endeavors. Many had an angle, such as going to the FBI, DEA, or ICE, after a few years within the Border Patrol. But most of the agents stayed because of the pay or because they could not pass the entrance exams to these other agencies. Lastly, one of my most interesting findings was how Latinx agents excuse or justify their career choice. Most of them simply state, "It's just a job." They share that, yeah, they feel bad about apprehending people, but at the end of the day, this is their job, and these people are committing a quote-unquote crime. Agents excuse their participation in this agency by stating that there is a right way of migrating and that this isn't it. This project explored the experiences of male and female Border Patrol agents of different ethnic backgrounds to complete a multi-dimensional analysis of the culture and complex gender and racial dynamics of the Border Patrol. My findings show that Latina agents face distinct challenges requiring deeper analysis, so my next phase of research will focus exclusively on Latina agents' experiences within this agency. Thus, utilizing the network of Border Patrol agents I established last summer, I will conduct more interviews to deepen my analysis and expand my study. My goal is for this project to inform not just scholars, but the public as well, about the gendered experiences, dynamics, and reproductions of gendered racial violence within and beyond the U.S. Border Patrol. With more than 388,000 female migrants clandestinely migrating through the U.S.-Mexico border each year, the current political climate, and the growing cases of gender violence of both female migrants and agents, it is crucial to continue this work now. Thank you.